Well, welcome everyone to our Active Transportation Committee for April 13th, 2022. I'm Mayor Walker. Glad to have all of you here. I apologize. I'm going to have to cut out at 10 o'clock. I have another commitment I can't get out of. So either Hugh or our vice chair is going to finish the meeting. But anyway, I wanted to just start off welcoming all of you here. We have a new member. Where is he on? Do I see him? Mayor Mark Johnson. There he is.
On, yes.
There he is.
Welcome, Mayor
right
Johnson.
here somewhere in the group.
Mayor Mark Johnson from Lehigh City, an avid trail and now avid e-bike enthusiast as of last year. So Mark and I have had a chance to do a lot of riding. Our cities are connected with a brand new paved connection and also with a dirt connection. And we're making a couple more this year that are going to really make a loop between Lehigh and Draper. So if you're a mountain biker and you want to come out, ride Sensei and come back into Draper, see both sides of the valley, we've been working together really well as cities to make those connections. So Mark, welcome. Mark's awesome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Rosie, would you like to do the roll call? Mark, did you want to say anything before?
I'm just glad to participate. So glad to be here and willing to and anxious to learn about what our role is here. So.
And it would appear you are a Raiders fan. All right.
Yeah, I hope most of us are here. I'm
That's
sure
right.
that's probably the case.
All right. Well, thank you. Rosie, would you like to do the roll call?
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and read the names in the participants panel. And we have Mike Subchak, Ann Granato, Eric Manning, Ben Hewitt, Ben Wuthridge, Blaine Fackrell, Brett McKiff, Carrie Bennett, Clint Campbell, Dakota Froisland. I'm sorry if I say your name incorrectly. Hannah Carmondi, Heidi Goodhart, Helen Peters, Hugh Van Wagenen, Jeff Euler, Jonathan Nichols, Jory Johnner, Joy Petro, Marissa Manzioni, Mark Bradley, Mark Johnson, Mayor Braden Mitchell, Mayor Dirk Burton, Megan Townsend, Mercedes Maestas, Michaela Jordan, Morgan Hayden, Ned Hacker, Nita Kiani, Nikki Navio, Peter Tang, Ryan Beck, Sarah Kenningson, Ted Knowlton, Tim Harps, Brittany Ward, Travis Moat, Travis Olson, Troy Walker. And if you just came in and you'd like your name included in the meeting minutes, please include your name or drop it down in the chat box. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Rosie. All right, Chair's report. This is kind of an interesting thing to report on because it's an unprecedented amount of money that we've seen go to active transportation, specifically like our paved pathways. So if you're not aware, last session, if you weren't happy with the legislature for some things they did, you can be happy with this. They appropriated $40 million for the paved pathways initiative that we have. So if you couple that investment with what they did last year, which was $42 million, you get us up around $90 million in state appropriated money for the improvement of paved pathways in our communities. And then if you add the federal money that's out there and various grants that come along, it's well over $100 million that our state legislature has appropriated in the last two sessions. And so I know sometimes we as elected officials get on the legislature, but in this regard, they really have stepped up. And I think it's phenomenal what we're going to be able to do with that kind of money. So it's, that our process requires, we got a 20% match to get the funds, but we certainly have more funds now than I think we've ever had, unprecedented level of funding. So I think that we're in good shape with respect to active transportation being a real priority for not only our communities, but the state. And so I'm excited about that. I think that's great news and pretty awesome. Number two item is that May, if you didn't know, is Bike Month. And so it's a chance to showcase the many benefits of riding a bike and invite many more folks to give bike a try. We'd also like to know, what you all have going on in your communities in order to celebrate Bike Month is a question I have. There's lots of opportunities to get involved and participate, getting people out. I personally think that e-bikes are really going to change, the face of what people are able to do. I know the trail that connects Lehigh and Draper, once the prison site develops and the River to Range trail is in, you're going to be able to ride safely from the prison site to Lehigh to catch the Murdoch Canal Trail to go down. Now you can go from Draper to Lehigh to the Murdoch Trail or the Jordan River Trail, but we'll have yet another connection. But I think you're going to see people legitimately be able to use an e-bike as a commuter vehicle, and I'm excited about that. And I think that as we promote Bike Month and get people out, I know that I always say this: if you want to come out and try an e-bike, Draper City, we have 9 of them. I'm happy to take anybody at any skill level. We can ride paved trail, we can ride dirt road, or we can go down vertigo, whichever you want to do. But I'd love to take anyone that wants to try it. I think if you come out and ride an e-bike, you need to bring your checkbook. It's about $6,000-7,000 to get a good one, and you're going to want one as soon as you ride one. So my challenge is if you haven't tried one, get out and try one. Otherwise, for Bike Month, do something in your community to promote it. Hugh, did you want to kind of hear what everyone else was doing? Do we got enough time for that?
Yeah, if there's somebody on the call that knows of an activity that's happening and they want to let the rest of us know about it, that'd be great.
Committee members, anybody want to pipe up what you're doing for Bike Month in May?
I'll go ahead and jump in and lead what we're doing at UDOT. So we just selected our poster winner. We did a call for applications to design the next statewide bike poster. And so if you go to the Move Utah website, move.utah.gov, you can see that we've announced a winner for that competition, and we'll be mailing out posters and broadcasting that starting next week. Additionally, we're doing our annual Strava bike challenge, where you can bike 5 miles through the month of May and get a special Move Utah UDOT badge in your trophy case. And yeah, we're just excited to be offering the Bike Month kind of activities on that platform again. And then Hugh and I are also coordinating very closely with the Jordan River Commission, and we're launching the Golden Spoke again in person. So if you want to ride from Provo or from Ogden to Jordan River Tracy Aviary location, it's about 50 miles from each of those starting points. Feel free to join us on May 14th.
Thank you, Heidi. Anyone else want to talk about what you're doing for Bike Month?
Mayor, I know in my community where I live in Provo, there's going to be a really extensive bike to work day with several breakfast stations. I don't know, 15 or 20 breakfast stations throughout the city. So that's always a fun event. And sometimes I keep my kids out of school and we go and ride around and sample all the breakfast stuff and then get them to school a little bit late. But that's a fun activity I look forward to every year.
And I guess, Heidi, maybe this is a good question for you. Does UDOT have any programs, like if a city or somebody's sitting here right now thinking, we're not doing anything for Bike Month, but I'd like to maybe do it next year? Is there a kind of a centralized place where we can plan some things or do some, or hitch on to some things you're doing? Is that something we could maybe put out for maybe if it's not too late this year, even if cities want to do it? Do you have anything like that?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So you're welcome to broadcast our statewide bike poster. We're offering it forward in digital formats, and the League of American Bicyclists designates National Bike Day, Bike to Work Day. And so you can kind of hop onto those activities, even if it's, no breakfast. You can just encourage people to bike or come, meet the mayor, council, or just, bike as a community. And, I'm available and happy to coordinate some of these efforts at the local level through, our efforts at UDOT and Utah. So feel free to just reach out to me directly.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll share. This is Brittany from Sandy City. Before the pandemic started, we created a bike committee, and as part of that, we tried to put on an event for Bike Month, but that ended up falling through because of the pandemic. We plan to get that up and started again. We've created a pamphlet that gives various different bike laws in there, just a quick handout that we can have at a booth. And then we have our active transportation plan that we did, and so we'll pass out a map of the projects that we've done and that we have planned, and then we'll do all of that at an event We like to do 5K races that we put on for events, but for Bike Month, we'll do a bike ride instead around a park and a trail.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mayor Burton, you think every day is Bike Month.
It is.
Anyone else want to weigh in on what you're maybe doing in your community? Or hopefully, if you aren't doing anything or you don't know what you're doing, reach out to Heidi. And I don't think it's too late to do something. It would be awesome if all of our communities could just do something. Maybe you pick something a few weeks from now and pull it off if it's just even using UDOT stuff. But I think it'd be great to have all of us do something. So Heidi, you might get some people reaching out to you. So thank you. All right. Well, if everyone's done, want to talk about that, let's go to our item number 3, which is our public. What's that?
Hey, Mayor, before we
Yeah.
get to public comment, can we just get the minutes approved from the February 9th meeting?
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 9th meeting.
This is Joy. I'll make motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you, Joy. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Blaine Fackrell.
Thank you, Blaine. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, seeing none opposed, we'll consider it unanimous approval. All right, next item number 3, public comment. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to make comment? Not like my city council meetings. Okay, so there's usually someone there for that. All right, well, seeing no public comment, we'll close that, move on to item number 4, which is an item for action. It's the 2022 Active Transportation Committee focus areas. Hugh is going to go over and finalize the focus areas that we discussed at the last meeting and ask for committee action in adopting the focus areas for the year. So Hugh, take it away, sir.
Thanks, Mayor, and hopefully everybody can see my screen here, and the words in red were some of the changes based on the discussion from last meeting that we've made to the focus areas for the year. Really, we, again, work around planning, building, educating, and coordinating are the high-level ones. And it was mentioned last time, we want to make sure as we're planning, it's to improve the active transportation network as a whole. And when we're educating, how can we do education for drivers as well as folks that are on their bikes? And then we had some real interest in e-bike adoption and rules and laws. And so we have a meeting that we're setting up in the future to really dive into that with you all. So if it's okay, I'd just love to get an approval of the focus areas for 2022 based on the slide that you see before you.
All right, does anyone have any comments they want to make on the changes in red? All right, I need a motion then to approve the focus area for the Active Transportation Committee, the focus area chart for 2022.
This is Joy. I'll go ahead and make that motion if everyone else is going to
Thanks,
remain
Mayor.
quiet.
Thank you, Joy. Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Travis Moat.
Thank you, Travis. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Hearing no opposed, we'll rule that motion is passed as well unanimously. Item number 5 is next. That's the Golden Spoke, 100 plus miles of trails connecting Provo to Ogden. Goal number 3 is our education goal. Hugh's going to go over an overview of the Golden Spoke Trail Network and the Golden Spoke Ride event happening May 14th. And this is a cool trail network. I've ridden at Ogden to Provo myself, and it's unbelievable. So Hugh, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. And Heidi mentioned this, which is great to talk about the Golden Spoke Trail Network. So I'll just give a little bit of background and get into this a little bit. So we do call it the nation's second longest paved trail. and I think the longest one paved west of the Mississippi, at least as a couple of years ago, although communities are building trails like crazy these days. But just to give a little background, sure this is working. The Portland Bureau of Transportation and several other subsequent studies have looked at who are the people that ride bikes, and what's their skill level, what's their comfort level. And you can see on this graphic, maybe some of the folks that we're used to seeing out on the roads is that maybe 1 to 5% who are experienced and confident. Over on the right-hand side of this graphic, their heads down, they're going fast, they're mixing with traffic. Then you have 9 or 10% that are casual and somewhat confident in that green color, who are pretty comfortable getting around, but they won't ride in every condition under every circumstance. And then there's a whole big group of the population, 50 to 60% of our neighbors, who are interested in riding bikes but have concerns, usually because they don't feel comfortable next to cars or traffic, but they'd like to do it more. You can see the percentages up there don't add up to 100. That's because there is a portion of our neighbors and friends that just don't have any interest in riding a bike. And that's okay. But we really want to see what we can do for this 50 to 60% of folks that maybe their head's not down and they're not racing, but they want to ride their bikes more to get around. So what that means is when we design and plan facilities and networks, we really want to focus on comfort, separation from vehicles, some protection that feels good, so that parents and kids and people that don't throw their spandex on for the weekend feel comfortable riding their bike and getting around. And there's something called an all ages and ability test to see what kind of infrastructure suits people from 8 to 80, so to speak. And stuff that you see on the left there that's unsuitable for AAA or all ages and abilities doesn't mean people won't use it, but for that 50 to 60% of folks, they probably won't. And it's usually just paint on the ground. There's not any physical real separation or barriers to help people feel safe or comfortable. The things on the right that are suitable for these folks is really calm neighborhood streets that have low traffic volumes and low traffic speeds, protected bike lanes, so there's some sort of physical, usually vertical separation between the bike lane and car travel lane, and then an off-street pathway. And we have some really great off-street pathways in our state and in our region. And it's just an example of one of these we'll be talking about a little bit with regards to the Golden Spoke and the West Haven River Parkway Trail that was completed a couple of years ago. And if any of you have these in your communities, hopefully you've been on them, or and you know how busy they get, because people love to use them. So where does that get us? In 2018, there was something called the North Temple Bridge that was placed, a big gap in the Jordan River Parkway network over some railroad tracks. And it was a big event and a big deal. You can see there's a huge gathering, sort of started this Golden Spoke event at these ceremonies. Then Governor Herbert placed what's called the Golden Spoke. If you can see that half wheel with all of those spokes in there, he's touching a golden one, which is this North Temple Bridge, that essentially connected all of these once disparate trails together from Ogden to Provo, or Provo to Ogden, depending on your disposition. And so this is, again, 100+ miles of off-street paved trails. So essentially, you do not have to interact with any car traffic for this 100+ miles. The map on the right sort of shows that, and it's made up of all these different trail systems. So the Ogden River Parkway, Weber River Parkway, the West Haven River Parkway, Denver and Rio Grande Western Rail Trail, the Legacy Parkway Trail, Jordan River Parkway Trail, Murdoch Canal Trail, and the Provo River Parkway Trail. So just to jump in a little bit closer, so this is up in Weber County. The sections of trail that make up the Golden Spoke. We'll keep the big map up on the right to give you the overall context. But you see Ogden River, Weber River Parkway, West Haven, and the Denver and Rio Grande trails there, as they all come together. In North Davis County, start coming further south. Again, the Denver and Rio Grande keeps going, often referred to as the DNRGW. Big, long, straight, former railroad bed. And then the Legacy Parkway Trail picks up as well. And that trail was built with the Legacy Parkway, right? UDOT project. And you can see that here as you head into southern Davis County. how that makes a connection into the number 3 on there, the Jordan River Parkway heading into Salt Lake County, which runs the whole length, plus some as you get through the county in Salt Lake County, Jordan River Parkway Trail, and into Utah County, connecting to the Murdoch Canal Trail, that big number 2, and the Provo River Parkway Trail, the big number 3. And so altogether, that is what has been referred to as the Golden Spoke network of trails. So for the May event that Heidi mentioned, we haven't been able to hold an in-person ride event the last couple of years due to the pandemic. So we're really excited to do this, and partners involved, MAG, Jordan River Commission, Move Utah, WFRC, Salt Lake County Health Department, Davis County is helping sponsor this. UTA is helping out as well. So really excited about that. And the starting locations, you can see the green dots, north and south in Ogden and Provo respectively. So the High Adventure Park, Provo Riverside Park, and going to be meeting in the middle with some way stations along the way, some watering and snack stations for folks to just replenish or turn around there if you want to. And those are about 25 miles from their starting points, the Lehigh Bowl River Trailhead and the Farmington Sports Complex, respectively, with end location at the Salt Lake Tracy Aviary Jordan River Nature Center. So if you make it all the way to there, it's about a 50-mile ride. Pretty fun. And you can register at goldenSpokeutah.org. And if anybody's interested in your community partnering in some way along the way, please reach out to Heidi or myself, and we'd love to involve you on the day of event. So really excited to be able to do this in person again after a couple of years. So looking at this network, where does it go from here? Is it finished? Is it done as far as building out, other connections? And even right now, everything in red that just popped up on the screen, these are existing trails that are connecting to or really close to connecting to this main spine of the trail network. And so it's exciting to sort of see all of this develop and communities plan and execute some of these trail networks. But beyond what's existing and starting to tie in, it's fun to think of, well, what could the overall trail network look like in these different counties and connect together, all the way from Brigham City into, southern Utah County and out into Tooele and, eventually up into, the Morgan area. And so these are the things that I love thinking about and imagining for our communities and our neighbors to be able to enjoy and use, to get around, to use recreationally, to improve our health and quality of life. And so, if there's something in your community that you're thinking about, a project that can tie into these trail networks, I'd love to hear about it. And hopefully, our respective transportation agencies can be helpful in making that happen. So again, more information about the ride itself at goldenSpokeutah.org. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or if anybody has comments about the network, or if you've ridden it and want to share your experience, it'd be a great time to do that.
Hugh, this is Joy. And I had an opportunity to participate in this Golden Spoke. And at that time, it was the rally. It was the kind of like the torch run, which I thought was very well organized. And it made it fun to be able to kind of pass off from city to city. Are you planning on doing anything similar to that this year, or is it just going to be starting Ogden and meeting Tracy Aviary?
Yeah, great question, Mayor. Thank you. And right now it'll be start and join us where you can along the route, and meet at the Tracy Aviary Center. So one thing we learned from that first ride is there's a whole lot of different speeds that people are going and experience, and it's tough to keep people on the same schedule. But as certainly looking towards doing big events later. And again, we're just excited to get something in person this year. So
I did that ride that you had the photo of. I think I rode from Ogden. Didn't we start up Weaver Canyon on that and then kind of came down? And Milburn was behind me. I just want to make a point of that. He was in the photo, but I got there before he did. anyway, it's a fun ride. I hope all of your communities like to participate. It's a great, and you can start anywhere you want and just get out and enjoy it. It's amazing trail. I'm always amazed when I'm on that trail how lucky we are to have. You saw what happened in St. George this weekend, road biking, tragic accident, people out on the road. And I know people like to ride the road, but the trail's a lot safer. There's no cars. So I'm glad we have this resource for people to maybe ride that would be otherwise uncomfortable being on the road. And you can imagine with the texting and distracted driving. So we are very fortunate. It's a great system, and I hope to participate in it. I'm going to ride somewhere. I'll find out where Millburn's going to start, and I'll go from there. So anyway, I've got to cut out from this meeting. I apologize. I have another commitment I can't get out of, and so I got to go. Mayor Petro, are you willing to just keep things moving?
I am, however, I am in St. George myself for another convention, and I wasn't able to pull up the agenda. So I'm a little lost on.
Mayor Petro, if you're okay with it, I can run us through the agenda as we move forward.
Okay, that's good, because I got my computer here and I couldn't get it to log in, so I'm working off of my cell phone, obviously. So thank goodness for those.
Thank you all. I apologize again. I can't get out of this commitment. So everyone, look forward to seeing you on the Golden Spoke. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. Okay, moving on to item number 6 on the agenda today. We have an introduction to Park RX Utah and Sarah Kinnison. And Sarah, I think I saw you on here earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we'll turn the time to you then.
Wonderful. I will just start sharing my screen. It's great to be back here. I actually attended these meetings a few years ago when I was in the active transportation role at Salt Lake County Health Department. So it's great to be back. And let me get there. Okay. So I am excited to talk about Park RX Utah and introduce it to this group and see if there's a potential collaboration that we can have here and, help each other out with both of our goals. So the idea of Park RX Utah is prescribing nature as medicine. So, we all go to the doctor and sometimes we hear, oh, you need to exercise more, or maybe not this group, because it seems like we're all pretty active here, enthusiasts in that, but maybe the doctor says you need to exercise more, but you don't know what to do. Or maybe you need to take this medication, but what if instead of taking a medication, or maybe in addition to a medication, you could be prescribed outdoor time. So before I kind of go into what a park prescription can look like, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the benefits of spending time outdoors. So starting off with spending time in nature decreases anxiety and negative thinking and lowers levels of depression and stress. And if you look into the literature, a lot of the data revolves around this, and it's a huge benefit for those who suffer with mental illness. And then spending time outdoors improves glucose levels in patients with diabetes, as well as decreases high blood pressure in patients with hypertension. It also allows opportunity to improve and retain sustainable health behaviors, which is very important for someone to continuously be healthy throughout their lives. And then lastly, the closer we are to green space, the less we suffer from cardiovascular, musculoskeletal, mental health, respiratory, neurological, and digestive diseases. So lots of wonderful benefits of spending time outdoors. Let's see, okay. And park prescriptions can also address health equity issues. And for those that aren't familiar with that word, or as a reminder, health equity means everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be healthy. And with park outings specifically, they are convenient to get to, inviting and reliable, free of cost, accommodate the ability level of a patient, as well as provides opportunities for regular engagement. And so one of the things that we love most about it is that it's free. You don't need a gym membership to go to a park or to a walking trail. We use the park word generally. Yes, we want to connect people to their local parks, but also it can mean walking around their neighborhood or going to a local hiking trail or the Jordan River Trailway, anything like that. And so we want to connect people to these affordable opportunities to improve their physical activity levels. All right, and connecting Utahns to local park and outdoor opportunities allows for conversations regarding walkable neighborhoods, active transportation, safer parks, park access, and equitable opportunities to outdoor activities, which is why I'm speaking to you all today. All right, so what does a park prescription actually look like? This will be talking about more of a clinical aspect of it, but you actually don't need a medical license or anything like that to give a park prescription. So the prescriber would go to the ParkRx America database with who ParkRx Utah partners with, and you'll see this provider login if you have already signed up as a prescriber. And so you would log in, and then if you wanted to, if you had a patient who already had put in their specific prescription code into this database, and they would be able to see what the last logged visit was. But this is what we really want to look at here. So you, this prescription pad will show up for the prescriber, and you can see that it will have the prescriber's information at the top. So for instance, this is Dr. Robert Czar, and he is a in pediatrics. And so the prescription goes over 4 different elements of getting outside. So the place, the activity, how often, and the duration. So, and what I really love about this, they actually just upgraded this website, and they really helped the conversation be the biggest part of this prescription process. And so the prescriber or the provider will ask the patient, where do you feel safe and comfortable outside? Where do you like or to spend time outdoors? So they will most likely have an idea, oh, I really like this neighborhood park, or there's a really good park near my work site, things like that. And that also opens up the conversation of maybe they don't feel comfortable at a park near their house or things like that. And so, and then they will be able to also look up at this GIS map where you can type in an address. So whether it's their home address, their worksite address, whatever they want to look at, and they can click the radius. So from 1/4 mile up to 10 miles, and they'll see different parks pop up, and not just parks. We are now introducing unique prescriptions. So if they're, we can put the Jordan River Trailway here as well, or things like that. So it doesn't just have to be a park, but they will see these different options for parks, and then they can click on these different parks if they want to look at the different amenities. So if it has a walking path, or if it has a pickleball court or something like that, we want to really find something that the patient enjoys doing already. All right, so going back to this prescription pad, you'll see the place and then activity. This person decided to do a walk unplugged without their earbuds. And then how often, their frequency, they decided to do every day after work. And then for their duration for 45 minutes. And especially we want to be mindful to meet these patients where they're at. If they are living sedentary lives, we want them starting with what they can do, and maybe if it's a 10-minute walk twice a week, that's great. And then after each visit, the prescriber can bump up that prescription. So, and this is more for the clinical side, but I thought it would be helpful for you to understand what it looks like for clinics to do this. So you would, as a provider, would click this, copy your nature prescription. And you know, when your provider enters a prescription into your own electronic health record, this is what they would be doing. And then it just informs them that if you copy and paste this, you can go into your patient's chart and then add it to your patient's chart here. And then, so just as a normal prescription would be. And then you would ask your patient about sending reminders. So I mean, I'm sure all of us are very busy, and sometimes it would be hard to remember something that you committed to at the doctor's office. So if the patient says yes, they are agreeing to receiving reminders from ParkRx America to their email or text. So this is what it would look like. If they chose a text message, they would put the patient's phone number in there, and then they get to choose how frequent they want to receive these reminders. If they want them every day, they can. If not, they can adjust that to what they need. And then they can add the duration of how often they're going to get this reminder. So if the patient comes in every 3 months, they can choose 3 months if the prescription is going to change then. And then they'll click on send reminders. And then this is what it would look like on the patient's end. So the patient will see your healthcare professional or other prescriber recently wrote you a nature prescription, click this link, and then they will actually need to give consent to receive these reminders, and also the terms of use and privacy policy. So it protects the provider as well as the prescriber. And then they will be able to see their prescription code as well as what their prescription was. And then you can see that they'll be able to log their first visit. And so they'll go to the park, click that button, and log that they actually went to the park and filled their prescription. And there is also the option to print prescriptions for those who may not have a smart device or a computer at home. And then on the provider or the prescriber's side, they'll be able to see when the patient went to the park and how often. And so that adds some accountability. Okay, so now that you know what a park prescription could look like, I want to share about what we've been doing here in the state of Utah. So we have a coalition here in the state of Utah called ParkRx Utah, and we are a multi-sector initiative whose mission is to prescribe parks and other recreational settings to prevent chronic conditions, improve physical, social, and mental health, and promote wellness by collaborating with partners and connecting all Utahns to parks and other recreational sites. So a little background of what we have been up to. We started back in 2018. I heard about this idea of prescribing outdoor time at a conference, and I was really surprised that we didn't have a set in stone program here in the state of Utah, because we obviously love our outdoors here, and we have a lot of great opportunities to be active in the outdoors in the state of Utah. And so a coalition was started where we have partners ranging from public health, park and recreation, healthcare, research, and more. And we are always looking for new members and new perspectives, because I truly believe this is one of our greatest successes as a coalition, is having all these different voices at the table. We also have developed 4 work groups, because as we continue with this idea, we realize there's a lot of room for opportunity to grow. So we have the clinical work group, which is the more traditional way of getting these park prescriptions into clinics. But we also have a mental health work group where we have, obviously we have a huge mental health crisis here in the state of Utah, as well as because of the pandemic. And so we really want to get these prescriptions in those mental health offices and in combination of therapy, that a patient could be given a park prescription as essentially homework. And then we have our community work group, where we are connecting with different communities and finding different community resources to really make sure people are aware of the free or affordable options that are out there to get outside and moving, as well as we are currently working with different organizations to provide discounts to their locations, such as the Tracy Aviary. So if someone had a prescription to their location, potentially we would be able to give them a discount. So that's a work in progress, but something that we're really excited about. And then lastly, we have our marketing and outreach group, where we focus a lot on, our social media and giving people ideas of how they can be active outside, and also creating contests and competitions to get outside, which I will be talking a little bit more in a couple more slides. We started outreach to our clinics and work sites in 2019, and we're still growing. We had a little hit a little barrier, obviously, with the pandemic. I work primarily with the Salt Lake County Health Department, so we were pulled aside, and everybody else obviously had their fair share to go through. So we slowly made our way to doing outreach, but 2022, we have a lot of great things happening this year, and I'm really excited. And we also have gained a really great following through our social media channels. And I've already talked about those work groups. We will be having a clinical toolkit to provide clinics in the next couple weeks. So that's also something we're really excited. We want to make it an easy thing for clinics to implement this idea, as we know they're already so busy. And so we want to make this a seamless process for them. And then, as you can see on the left-hand side, we have a mental health checklist that our work group created to really have people think of the little things that they can do, or be reminded of the things that we can do to get outside. And on the right, we also have our community resource guide with different opportunities to get outside and moving. All right, so we actually, this is the most relevant thing that we have going on. Starting tomorrow, we have a 10-day contest coming up to get all Utahns outside and moving. So from Logan to St. George, all ages, all abilities, and Mercedes Maestas, who is also on this call, and she sits on this group. She is our marketing and outreach lead. And so she has put a lot of great work into this. And so the idea behind this contest is, wander close, wander far, wander Utah. So we want people to discover the things that are in their backyard, or maybe finding new ways to get outside, or things that they didn't even know that were out there. When I was doing research on different missions that we could have on this, I found a great park in Tremont that looked really cool. So we want to connect people to these different opportunities. So the idea is to build a team, complete outdoor missions, earn points, and win prizes. So people can start by downloading the free Goose Chase app on their mobile device and create an account. And they would create a team of 2 to 5 Utah residents. And you don't have to be in the same part of the state of Utah, which is really fun if you have family who live in northern Utah or southern Utah. And then get ready to complete outdoor challenges to earn points and win prizes. And Mercedes, if you would add that link to the chat, that would be great. And if you would like to promote this yourself at your own organizations, we would love to provide you some information or some infographics as well. But what would this look like? This was last year. So we had over 152 teams last year, which I believe we already have beat that. I think we have over that amount already registered for the event that starts tomorrow. And over 500 participants, over 100 possible missions. And you can see on the right, those are examples of what the missions look like. So people can do an Abbey Road picture, crossing, of course, safely across the road, as well as planting a garden, having a picnic at the park, camping, having a campfire, and going for walks. And so from grand to small, we have opportunities for all people to participate. And not only are the top 3 teams going to earn prizes, but we also will be giving some wild card prizes out, because we want to make sure not only they're getting the benefits of being outside, but they know they have a little bit more incentive to be active. All right, so I know that was a lot of information, but if you would like to learn more, feel free to visit us at parkrexutah.org. You can email me or Mercedes, or on that website, we do have a contact page. And then follow us on social media via either your personal account or your organization account. We have a lot of our information for that contest on there as well. Or if you just want to be part of our coalition, we are always welcoming more people, especially as I mentioned earlier. We really want to create this conversation of opportunities to get people from point A to point B, from their houses to their local parks or local trails. And so we're really excited to see if there's any opportunities for collaboration. And that is it.
Thank you, Sarah. I see Mercedes has been putting information in the chat, and there was one question from Dakota about the challenges themselves. Are they specific to geographic location or activity specific? And Mercedes mentioned, responded to that in the chat, but maybe for those that aren't able to look at that, do you have a little insight, Sarah, on the challenges?
Yeah, so we do have some geographic based challenges. So we didn't want to have it based solely based on that, but we do want to connect people. We have parks from Logan, Layton, St. George, Cedar City. So we do have parks that are within, hopefully in everybody's area in the state of Utah, but we also have a lot of just simple tasks like that you can just do anywhere. So jump roping or going for a walk in your neighborhood. So there should be something for everybody, because we want to be mindful that not everyone might be able to have a car to go to Candylands National Park, or they might not be able to afford the gas, especially with the gas prices. And so we made sure not to weight those location-based missions too high, just because we want to make sure it's fair for everyone.
Great, thanks. And one question that I had is regarding the prescription program. What kind of success rate are you seeing with people fulfilling those prescriptions, right? And after they receive the prescription, following through with that accountability and everything?
Yeah. So far, we're seeing last time I checked was about 50%, which isn't terrible. And so we're hoping to get more data as we include more clinics in the next year. And so then hopefully overcoming that. And we also are going to start gathering some evaluation measures. So not only gathering those clinical measures to see if there's any change, but we really want to gather information about their willingness to complete this prescription, or have you noticed your mood change, things like that. So we can even add questions about why didn't you, what was a barrier to not completing this, things like that.
Thanks. Anybody else have a comment or a question for Sarah in the Park RX program? Okay, well, everybody has the contact information now. And so Sarah, thanks for letting us know about that and the challenge that's coming up. And you'll see if I can rustle up a few folks and see if we can win the prizes. So appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Next on our agenda, it's item number 7, the Transportation Land Use Connection Awards and the Transportation Alternatives Program Applications Overview. And that will be, those will be presented by Megan Townsend with WFRC and myself. And these will be specific to WFRC's area, just to keep that in mind. So Megan, I'm looking for you. There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you. Let me share my screen. So many of you may know about our Transportation and Land Use Connection program. We make awards annually, and we were able to do that in March. So I'm happy to get to share those with you. Obligatory, are you seeing my screen okay? Question, Hugh. Okay. Thanks. This is our Planning Technical Assistance Program. It's a partnership between WFRC, UDOT, UTA, and Salt Lake County. We fund all things planning, local efforts to implement the Wasatch Choice Vision, and it just so happens that quite a bit of that is active transportation. So every year we get to share a few active transportation related projects with this committee. The program goals include maximizing the value of investment in public infrastructure, enhancing access to opportunities, increasing travel options to optimize mobility, and creating communities with opportunities to live, work, and play. So while one of these goals is very centrally related to active transportation, really all of them have a little bit of an active transportation element, right? That access to opportunities via all modes, infrastructure for all modes, and communities where we can live, work, and play. Again, I think a big part of the play is the active transportation element. A few active transportation highlights from years that have come and gone with this program. The TLC program has been around since 2014. And so we've seen lots of projects come through. That list over there to the right is a little bit of a breakdown of everything we've ever funded. And you can see in that third category, transportation and active transportation master plans, 24 projects have been squarely in that category. But all of those other projects have had, most of those other projects have likely had an active transportation element in one way or another, be it providing better connections to a transit station. Maybe it's just doing a little bit of a walk audit of a center, or looking regionally at active transportation connections, among other things. So big active transportation focus with TLC. 89% of communities in the WFRC area have completed or funded active transportation plans. That's not all TLC, but we like to think we had a good hand there. And then 42% of the projects that span multiple jurisdictions, multiple communities, are active transportation plans through TLC. This year, we've made 16 awards in 19 communities. One of those is a multi-jurisdictional award in Southwestern Salt Lake County. We made awards in the amount of about 1.5 million with a local match of about nearly 500,000, which is great. That's the most local match we've ever seen aggregate for the year. And that just shows how important these projects are to the communities, to your communities. And so we love to see that. It makes the money go a little farther. There's 16 awards made. I'm going to talk about 5 of them mostly. And then I'm mentioning 14 out of 16 as projects that have an active transportation link. So that's my my quick audit of the applications. And it's just good to see that all of these projects are considering biking and walking. So squarely active transportation projects. Oh, Copperton got listed twice there. Sorry about that. We have the Copperton Active Transportation Plan and Connectivity Ordinance. This is awesome to see both an active transportation plan right there along with a connectivity ordinance to start making it happen, put it right there into the code. We're really excited to see that. And as Copperton grows and develops, they'll have a good plan in place. We have a holiday study of I-215 shared use active transportation path. So it's a multi-use path along I-215 that will take kind of an early look at feasibility, as well as just what that might look like. The Southwest Waterways Visioning is the multi-jurisdictional project we funded this year, including Bluffdale, Harriman, Riverton, and West Jordan, partnered with Salt Lake County. This is a look at the waterways in those communities and whether or not there are opportunities there or connections to and along those. And then finally, the Tooele City Active Transportation Plan. Great to be able to help Tooele City out. And this is a photo from Copperton, which we think is a sweet photo. The corridor studies and ordinances I'll just mention here. Harriman will be doing a transit corridor and land use study along what they have, the corridor that they have preserved for transit. And it's reasonable to believe that we'll be considering active transportation there for connections to and along that. Salt Lake City 1300 East University District Circulation Study, again, transit focused, as well as really all modes looked at there. There's a Farmington North Station area alternate transportation study. We've been working with Farmington on their station area for a few years through the TLC program. And this is a little bit of looking at circulation around that station. And then Salt Lake City's 300 West Corridor Plan and zoning amendments. So while that will be land use zoning, I think many of you may be familiar with the great work that the city's done on 300 West. And so it's zoning to better accommodate that new path that will be there on 300 West. And then finally, here's the list of some small area plans we've funded this year. Maybe I'll just leave that on the screen and I won't go through all of those, but you can see all these neighborhoods that we will be working in, and of course, considering multiple modes, how they're getting to and through those centers of activity, namely that South Salt Lake Central Point Station area plan. A big part of that will be circulation, right? If you've ever utilized that station, there are all kinds of challenges getting there, and so we're excited to be able to help South Salt Lake look at that along with these others. Great work with these projects. You can see all those projects newly awarded, as well as the projects we funded over the years. on our website in this interactive map, and we have a kind of a highlight for just the specifically active transportation projects. So if you go look at all the green dots within that confetti map, you'll see just AT projects. You can see whether or not they're completed, in progress, or if they haven't started yet, but they have awards. And certainly zoom into your community and see what TLC projects we've done there. And get in touch if you ever have active transportation planning needs, right? The TLC program is a great resource within the Wasatch Front Regional Council region. That's all I have for you today. I do encourage you all to check out the map and the website. We'll stop sharing if Zoom will let me. Any questions about TLC or these projects we've recently funded? If I may, Hugh and co-chair.
Megan,
So
I don't question with a comment, if I might, at this time. The project that you have on there for 21st South and Central Point, I'm very excited about that one. That's one that's really needed, even though it's not in West Jordan. It's something that'll benefit our regional areas. So thank you for making that one happen.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mayor.
And this is Joy. I just want to comment that for Layton City, we were able to be a recipient of this. And we're just now in the process of working through our active transportation with the consultants. And, I look forward to the outcome, because I thought we were pretty well connected for what we had done so far, but we're really recognizing how much more we can do. So thank you, Wasatch Regional Front Council, for awarding us the funding so that we can go through this process. And like I said, I'll share with everyone once we have our outcome, but it's exciting. And I encourage everyone to file and do what they can to help their communities.
Thanks, Mayor. There's always more connections to be had, right? We're excited to be able to help you out.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. And Mayor Petro mentioned that Layton's received some funding. And for those of you on the call, how many of you in your communities have received a TLC project that you know of? You just raise your hand either this way or, it's the little hand emoji. Good, seeing a lot of hands go up. That's great. So Megan talked about the planning efforts that we help with our partners. And I'm going to talk about mostly how to take those plans and implement them and construct something. And again, I mentioned all of these are in the WFRC area. If you're in the MAG area, they have their own process for going through selecting planning projects and construction projects. They're on a 2-year cycle, and we are on a 1-year cycle here of just programming these. And we are in the middle of our programming right now for the Congestion, Mitigation, and Air Quality Program, or CMAQ, which focuses on congestion and air quality. The Surface Transportation Program, which is a big catch-all for transportation projects, and the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP program, that focuses on construction of bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So I'll focus on what's been recommended from the TRANSCOM, or Transportation Coordinating Committee. Their technical advisory committee had meetings last week, 2 weeks ago. Things are blurring together, and made recommendations to the Transportation Coordinating Committee that will be considered tomorrow. And so just looking at these projects in the TAP program, these applications started with a letter of intent last fall, and full applications were received in December. And through field reviews and application vetting, these are the projects that have been recommended by the TAC. So as far as the amount of funds requested through the program this year, about 10.8 million in projects was requested. And we have about 5.3 million, again, from Brigham City to the south end of Salt Lake County to program across the region. And the 5.3 million this year is more than we've had in the past by quite some amount, due to the infrastructure bill that was passed in Congress and some of the extra money that's coming to transportation these days. So with the 5.3 million, we were able to fund 17 projects across the region that I'll give you a little preview on right now. So we'll start north and head south. But the very first project came actually from UTA to help design the Utah-Idaho Central Old Rail Line, design a trail along that corridor for about 2.7 miles as you head from Weber County into Box Elder County. And the recommended funding here is about $186,000 to help with that design. And this is potentially part of that Golden Spoke extension and the historic Orchard pathway that heads into Brigham City there. Next project is in Plain City, so Western Weber County. It's a Safe Routes to School project, looking at filling in some gaps where there's no sidewalk for anybody walking to get to school or other places. So about $100,000 recommended there for Transcom to consider filling that sidewalk gap. Also part of the future trail network in Davis/Weber counties is the Weber River Parkway in South Weber City. This was a request to help fund phase 2, which you can see is over on the right hand of your screen. There's a box culvert being constructed with the US 89 project right now to help people get underneath that with the trail. So that's a really big deal that UDOT's doing there. The city's been working with them on, and funding recommended about $325,000 to help extend the trail network to the east and hook in with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. This is part of the greater Centennial Trail Network and also extensions of that Golden Spoke network that we spoke about earlier. Also, South Weber applied for a phase 3 of that trail as well, which is more a little bit further west, connecting into some existing portions of the trail. And that was also recommended for funding this year at about $318,000. So moving towards the middle with this project. I should mention all of these funds do require a local match. You can see the total project cost is always higher than what the recommended funds were. So that's the local financial match that is anticipated with the award. Layton City, 3200 West, another Safe Routes to School project. So missing sidewalk, you can see in this photo here on the right, how it slopes off, not great places for kids to walk to school. In the photo on the left, you can see the 2 schools sort of towards the bottom of the area with that red stripe being where this sidewalk gap is. So about $80,000 being recommended to go towards that project this next funding round. In Centerville City, so this is a connection from the 400 North trail that exists there to get over in a direct fashion to the Legacy Parkway Trail. Again, a connection off that Golden Spoke network. Right now in that photo you see on the bottom, you can see a trail off to the left there. And you have to go really far south to get to the Legacy Parkway Trail when it's really in the photo just beyond the bridge work here. And so Centerville City working with UDOT, seeing if they make that connection straight across, they can fill some network gaps there with about $250,000. In North Salt Lake along Redwood Road, they've been working on a trail on the west side of Redwood Road for a number of years and have a handful of gaps left. The photo on the left, you can see the example of a gap, and the photo on the right shows it clearly. I think there's 3 or 4 of these gaps that remain, and connecting the remaining trail system for about $226,000 is the recommended funding. Moving into the Salt Lake City area, so this is a project actually applied for by UDOT themselves, and they had some excess right-of-way along 700 East or SR 71 between Liberty Park and the Parley's Trail, about 2100 south with the streetcar network there. And they were trying to brainstorm on what to do with this excess right-of-way, and they said, why not you put a trail in? So a shared use path on the west side of the roadway. I know the city is excited about this project, and it connects again that trail on South Parley's Trail to Liberty Park. And between the TAP program and the STP program, about $2 million is getting recommended to go towards this project here. Salt Lake City, Foothill Drive. Anybody that's familiar with that, it's a big busy road and it's hard to get across it. The request here is for design money at intersections to improve the bicycle and pedestrian crossings. several intersections across Foothill Boulevard. So the recommended funding for that design work is $300,000 for those intersections. West Valley City, the Crosstown Trail has some gaps in it. Again, something that ties into the Golden Spoke Network and the Jordan River Trail. Looking at completing those gaps, you can see between the blue lines in that top photo. So recommended funding here is $300,000. And it's part of an overall bigger project. You can see the total cost is 1.7 million. So there's some roadway improvements that are happening with this, and they're doing the active transportation improvements along with it. In Taylorsville, another sidewalk gap along 5400 South between 13th West and the park there along the Jordan River Parkway. This is, there's really no shoulder here. There are bus stops along the way people are standing at with no good place there, and a lack of sidewalk to get people through. So $560,000 recommended to complete the sidewalk there in Taylorsville. Murray City, this is part of the network that they identified in their recent plan that finished through the TLC program. It's called the Mid-Valley ATP with some other cities, 5 other cities in that plan. And you see in the photo on the right how you move from essentially a bike lane, and when you get to this underpass underneath I-15, it goes into a share or shared roadway. And as we mentioned earlier, trying to increase the comfort for people on their bikes, trying to separate them from traffic and not share the roadway, busy roads. This will help move some of that bridge support over to provide proper bike lanes for people to get through. And this is also a location where you can see AF-15 is a real barrier for folks, and not having to deal with an interchange to get across the freeway is a big deal. And so improving this connection where there's no interchange is important. And there's about $600,000 recommended on that project. Cottonwood Heights, this is along Fort Union Boulevard, right next to Bella Vista Elementary. Requested funding for improved crosswalk and a hawk signal. So those big overhead masts that blink when somebody initializes. And so traffic stops on all sides and gets people across. And so crossing again a barrier of a roadway due to its speeds and volumes. This signal requested funds or recommended funds about $450,000. West Jordan, the Utah Lake Distribution Canal, southern portion, you can see about 1.2 miles. It's an along existing canal and a service road, and we can just paving it for about $155,000 is what's being recommended there. Riverton, this is the Welby-Jacob Canal. Several portions of this canal are paved, and they're looking to extend that. The orientation here is north is on your right. And this is getting recommended for funding actually through the CMAQ program, the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, because it has a commuter tie to it and can improve our air quality directly. And about $1.3 million is recommended to go towards that project. So again, a lot of these trail projects, again, which are very comfortable for people to use, and encourage them to use it. In Harriman City, a request for buffered bike lanes along Anthem Park Boulevard for about $100,000. You can see how in that green, which is being requested, starts to tie in their active transportation network that's existing and based on their plan that was also finished up within the last couple of years through a TLC grant. And the last project on the list is more design work around the point of the mountain and all of the activity that's going down there with the community hoping to be a 15-minute city and car optional, a lot of connections to transit and getting over some of the barriers like I-15 and Bangor Highway. This money is being recommended to help with those design efforts for bike and ped bridges specifically. And that's being recommended at $300,000. So I know that was a lot of chatting, but hopefully it gives you a flavor of the project being recommended through our programs, and maybe gives you and your community some ideas of future projects to apply for. And we'd be happy to talk more about that with any of you or your staff moving forward. But if there's anything, any comments or anything like that, but between any of the programs that were mentioned this morning. Okay. Well, thanks for bearing with me on that one. We'll jump to number 8. And this is just other business. And Jory, John, or if you're with us, it would be a good opportunity to update this group on the regional transportation plan process that WFRC is undertaking. And I know that MAG is just about to kick off their regional transportation plan process as well. But please, Jory.
One thing on that last item you just made mention, Hugh, is the projects had just been programmed, but start thinking about next year. I think in September they'll start looking for letters of intent, start working through the process. So work with your community, work with us. Let's look for some good projects, especially with, as Mayor Walker mentioned, some of the new money from the legislature. I know UDOT's has the TIF AT and first last mile project or funding. So there's a lot of opportunity to coordinate and collaborate and kind of join some monies together. So sooner we start looking at those, the easier it is to kind of pool some money if needed for some big projects and get them moving forward. With the RTP, quick overview of that. The regional transportation plan, it's updated every 4 years. We're in the final year of the 2023 plan, expected adoption in May of 2023. It's multimodal, active transportation, walking, biking, transit, roadway. It's tied to the Wasatch Choice goals and the land use, the local communities, future land use in the centers. And it's phased, it's prioritized, not just by needs, but when a project's needed, but also financially constrained based on expected funding we have. We develop it with local communities, UDOT, UTA, key stakeholders, the public, over that 4-year time frame. And why is the regional transportation plan important? One of the biggest pieces is that tie to the funding. Almost all local funding sources, state funding and federal funding that are related to capacity type projects rely on the regional transportation plan for projects, priorities, and things like that. So making sure we get the right projects in the plan in the right time frame, working with you all is important. Over the last 3 years, we've done some exploration of external forces and policies. We've looked at connected and autonomous vehicles, how teleworking is affecting transportation, how all of our online and e-commerce and local deliveries are affecting the transportation different than in the past, and how will that affect things in the future. We've developed a set of projects or a list of projects that are needed by 2050. And now we're moving into the stage of the plan where we're trying to identify the phasing. So which 10 years are the projects needed in? So next Wednesday, we're going to take to the Regional Growth Committee Technical Advisory Committee a first draft of these needs, or when the projects are needed by phase for all 3 modes. So we'll take that out. We're also going to develop an interactive map. We'll send that out to the Active Transportation Committee. Just as a reminder, this committee is an advisory committee to the Regional Growth Committee, which kind of really is our main committee that reviews and works with us on our regional transportation plan and gives us guidance. But the RGC relies on the Active Transportation Committee specifically for active transportation suggestions and review. So we'll send that out to this committee once we get that interactive map developed. This summer, we'll look at the financial constraints. So we're working statewide with all the other MPOs, UDOT and UTA, to develop a financial model that projects how much existing funding, how much new funding we think we can expect, and we'll financially constrain the plans in all 3 modes. This will be the first time we're going to attempt to do this for active transportation. If we had tried this 5 years ago, it would look a lot more bleak than I think it will this go around. I think, as Mayor Walker highlighted, and as we all see, there's a lot more funding sources and revenue going towards active transportation, and it's a higher priority. So we'll have to see how the projections look with our financial model. But this will be the first time. So we'll want your eyes on that as well. with the main goal that this fall we hold annual Wasatch Choice workshops with all of our local communities in conjunction with UDOT and UTA, and we invite the mayors, city council, planning commission, economic development, city managers, planners, engineers to these meetings. We meet in 8 sub area around the along the Wasatch Front and get input. So that will be our main point where I think we'll get all a bunch of input on the plan, but we're trying to get input along the way so that we don't just have it all build up towards the end. So provide input on the needs here in the next couple of weeks, and then look for this summer. We'll send out the draft financially constrained, look for input there, and then kind of the whole package this fall. And again, like I said, we're looking to adopt that in May of 2023. So all should be good. I think we're definitely on schedule and on track.
Thanks, Joy. And just now it's time to open up to anybody else for other business for the committee to hear or consider. Let's see, on your agenda, there's a number of upcoming events, including the Utah Bike Summit next week and all those Bike Month activities that were mentioned. So take a look at those if you haven't had a chance yet. And our next meeting is going to be June 8th. And we are hoping to hold that in person and have some reason for you to come together and possibly try out some e-scooters and e-bikes. And so if you can attend in person, getting out and trying some of those new machines and devices that are out there in your local communities. But if there's not any other business from anybody on the call today, Mayor Petro, maybe I can turn to you and you can finish up and ask for the adjournment.
Yeah, I can handle that. That's an easy one.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you though, because I mean, this is great information that we covered today. And in particular, when you talk about one, encouraging us to get out and support Bike Month. I know myself, I'm going to go back and kind of figure out some type of activity we're going to do within our city. And then of course, going over the RX program. I mean, to me, that's something all of us can kind of get behind and really help promote. I know, speaking on behalf of the cities, I know all of us are going to be concerned this year with our parks because we're not going to be able to put as much water on them. So that's okay. There's other things I mean, there's more than just grass in our parks. So we can encourage people to get out and be active that way. But with that, I just got to say thank you. Thanks for covering for me, Hugh. And if no one else has anything to say, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Woohoo. Okay. Thank you, everyone. All in favor? I guess raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
But
Aye.
enjoy your day.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.